Hello, Alpha 40 fans. Welcome to my monthly deck tech and discussion video for March 2025. In today's video, I'm going to recap the 40 cards I played in the monthly league last month in February. I'm going to let you know how each of the matches did. I'll do a quick recap on all my matches. And then finally, I'm going to make a few suggestions and improvements to this deck to see if it does any better next month. If you're a fan of Alpha 40, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to my channel for all my monthly updates. Check the description below for the deck construction rules. I'll show you how to build your own Alpha 40 deck so you can play at your local LGS with your friends, or if you want, you can join online and play with us monthly on Whereby. So this deck, if you recall, is a red-green channel fireball combo deck. I'm running 10 copies of Basic Mountain by Douglas Schuler, 1 copy of Taiga by Rob Alexander. This gives me red or green mana. And then I have 5 copies of Basic Forest by Christopher Rush with the little path on it. This gives me access to my green mana that I need to cast Llanowar Elves and Channel for the combo. For the red spells, I'm running 3 copies of Lightning Bolt. Low cost, 1 red, does 3 damage to your opponent. Very iconic card. 1 copy of Fork, which is an interrupt. For 2 red, it copies any sorcery or instant spell like Lightning Bolt or Fireball. Fireball is half of the channel Fireball combo. It's an X spell for 1 red that does X damage to your opponent or creature or their creatures. You can also pay an extra red and divide the damage evenly for every red source that you pay for every target that there is. 1 copy of Mana Flare, which is an enchantment for 2 colorless and a red. This duplicates mana produced by lands, which lets you cast fireballs more effectively. I'm running 3 copies of Disintegrate, which is a sorcery. It does X damage to 1 target only, not multiple targets, but it does remove those creatures from the game if you target creatures. It works with Channel as well, so you could Channel Disintegrate your opponent for the win. I'm running 1 copy of Wheel of Fortune, which is my power card. A couple months ago, I took out Time Twister, which I loved, but Wheel of Fortune has worked great in its place, so I'm keeping Wheel of Fortune in the deck. I also ran 1 copy of Power Surge last month. This was an enchantment that does damage to you for untapped lands before your upkeep. It actually cost me a couple matches, so I might take out Power Surge this month in exchange for a different card. For the green spells, I'm running 3 copies of Llanowar Elves, which also provide green mana after you've cast them, which can help you cast Regrowth. Regrowth is the draw spell card. You're allowed 1 of the 5 draw spell cards: Brain Geyser, JM Tome, Howling Mine, Demonic Tutor, or Regrowth. And I'm going with Regrowth because it's green, and I could maybe like Fireball early in the game, regrow it later, regrow when I need the Channel Fireball combo to lock. I can maybe regrow the Channel or the Fireball. Speaking of, here is the Channel. This is the sorcery for 2 green that uses your life as leverage in exchange for colorless mana, which you can use to pump into a Fireball or a Disintegrate to do damage to your opponent. I'm running 6 artifacts. The Soul Ring, which is one of the mana rocks that you can use. You can use 1 Mox, 1 Black Lotus, or 1 Soul Ring, so I'm using the Soul Ring in this deck. That lets me cast multiple Black Vices, sometimes on turn 1 or 2, very effectively, so I'm keeping 3 copies of Black Vice in the deck as well. 1 copy of Iron Star, which gives me life for casting red spells, and is helpful because in order to cast Channel Fireball effectively, you need to be way ahead on life in order to use your life to do damage to your opponent. So in order to get there, if you're down on life, you do need to gain a bunch of life before you can Channel Fireball. And finally, I'm using 1 copy of Chaos Orb to flip onto the opponent's battlefield and destroy any of their permanents. So February was a short month. We had a small pod. We only had 3 people in our pod last month. I only got 1 game off successfully, 1 match, and I lost that match 0-2 to an opponent who was playing a red-blue deck. He was utilizing Jade Statue as his win condition. In the first game, he was able to get 2 Jade Statues out that I was unable to Shatter or Chaos Orb. I wish I had a Shatter in this deck, but he had 2 Jade Statues, plus he was able to copy Artifact, one of those, to have 3 Jade Statues out on the battlefield. And the X spells in this deck aren't really good at taking out Jade Statue because it's only a creature on the attack phase. and the sorceries I can only cast on my turn, so I didn't have any instant spells. I would have had to lightning bolt twice to kill one jade statue, or lightning bolt and fork to get one of the jade statues, but I didn't have those cards at the time, so I lost game 1. We moved to game 2, where I was able to attempt to cast Power Surge in the second game, but he was able to counterspell Power Surge, so I wasn't actually able to use it. I was excited because it's good in the blue matchups when they want to keep 2 blue open. Power Surge does damage to them, but it got countered. Again, he cast a statue and copy artifacted it. I did get to disintegrate for 5, but that got countered. Then I tried to regrow something from the graveyard, but that got countered. And then his statue got through, and I lost. But since none of the other opponents were able to get any matches in, I did advance to the top 16. And in the top 16, I faced a good friend of mine who was on a mono blue deck. Again, very excited for the mono blue matchup with the Power Surge. We had a very exciting back and forth match that went 3 games. I won the die roll, and in the first turn, I cast a Soul Ring and 1 Black Vice, plus a Mana Flare, and then a Power Surge. So I was rolling in the first game. I fireballed for about 5 damage. The next turn, I tried to fireball again, but it got countered, and then I ran out of cards. He was down to 1 life, was able to cast an Air Elemental, and then the Power Surge started doing damage to me. So the combination of the Air Elemental and the Power Surge, I lost game 1. We moved to game 2, where I had a much better start. I cast a Taiga and a Soul Ring and 2 Black Vices on turn 1, which did 6 damage right away. And he scooped and said, I can't beat that. So we moved to game 3, which was much closer. I cast a Mountain and a Lightning Bolt on turn 1. I cast a Chaos Orb, and then which I think got countered. He countered the Chaos Orb, but I was able to regrow the Chaos Orb out of the graveyard. Then he had Air Elemental again and Mahamoti Djinn, so his mono blue Flyers deck was pretty tough. When I tried to Chaos Orb the Mahamoti the second time, he was able to unsummon the Mahamoti to his hand, and then I was able to cast Power Surge, but by then it was a little too late and I was not drawing more X spells, so I ultimately died to Mahamoti Djinn, Air Elemental, and my own Power Surge. So for that reason, I'm taking Power Surge out of the deck this month. It was kind of a fun card to try, but it ended up doing more damage to me than I wanted to do. So I'm going to take out Power Surge. I'm going to put in Hurricane, a card I've played before in my blue Hurricane deck. If you want to check my playlist of Alpha 40 content, you can see the blue Hurricane deck I played. This is nice because it does X damage to all players and flying creatures. And since I don't have any flying creatures, it doesn't affect my flying creatures. If I have Llanowar Elves on the table, it won't kill my Llanowar Elves, so I like that. I don't think you could use this with Channel. I don't think you could channel Hurricane very effectively because you use your own life to do that much damage to yourself, so if you can't really go below 10 and do 10 or more damage because you'll kill yourself. But if you need to go to a draw and like kill both players just to get to like a 4th game, this might work as a combo there. I was thinking about Earthquake, which is a red X spell, but that does X damage to all players and all creatures, so that would affect my Llanowar Elves. So I think the Hurricane will be slightly better than Earthquake. Let me know what you think in the comments if you like Hurricane, if you think it'll work in this deck. I'm going to put that in instead of Power Surge, and I'm also going to take out 1 mountain and put in a basic forest to even out the mana base a little bit. So I'll have 9 mountains, the Taiga, and 6 basic forests, keeping the 16 mana, 40%. I'll have 6 green spells, 12 red spells, and the 6 artifacts. That's the deck I'm going to run for the month of March. Let me know how you think it's going to do in the comments below. Stay tuned for next month's Alpha 40 video. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Have a great month, everyone.